if I was to start sharing a little bit of knowledge that I've learned, and in our community, we've had, I don't think by the fault of anybody, but we've had a lot of turnover. We've had turnover in administration, we've had turnover in teachers, which in turn, creates a little bit of instability at times as far as relationship building goes. And I think that sometimes our students become weary, and I can't blame them, right? Like you take a look and you're like, geez, if I had people coming in and out of my life every year, it would probably be harder for me to make a very solid relationship. So I think that in itself is trauma. And I say that because when you have new folks that are coming into your community, it's really important, I think, that our teachers know that our students are facing traumas, and that the trauma that they're facing may look different than it looks in other communities. And it may look different because it absolutely is. Maybe some of the trauma that is not identified could be that our parents come from commercial fishing families. And so they're out of school every year in April. They never ever have gotten to April and May where schools are traditionally closing. And that they're fishing all the way till September. So they're missing out on that August and September time. And that their families traditionally have not been able to keep up with that schedule of academic learning because of the fact that they're providing for their families. And I don't think it should be a deficit. I think they're probably doing more math on that boat than anybody is doing in that classroom. And I'll just say that very, very clearly. And it looks different. It just looks different, and it's not any less. It just looks different. So for our teachers that are coming into our communities, knowing that, when maybe what you're seeing as a deficit could be flipped around and seen as a strength. And knowing that I learned a lot, teaching Head Start. One of the things I noticed was when kids came back from Friday, they'd go home on Friday. We usually had all kinds of like, salt, Play-Doh handprints and all the coloring pages, whatever happened for the week, right? All the finger puppets, and you put them all in the backpack and you send them home. And then on Monday, that kid comes back and they take off their boots because it's winter time, and you come in and you want them to take off their boots and put on their gym shoes. And this kid has no socks on, right? Just put that in your mind. Like it's December and this baby has no socks on. So what do? You make sure and you have socks, because that right there is going to change his day. You put socks on those little feet, you stick them in those shoes, and you just keep going, just like you never even noticed that there was a deficit, right? But remember that this kid, you might want to open his backpack and see, because 9 times out of 10, everything from Friday is still in there. So maybe you just need to think about that. Maybe you open that backpack and you take those things out and you share in success with that kid. You change his day. You say, I really, really was glad to see you finished your finger puppet. Is it okay if I hang it up on your cubby? Don't let those things go in the garbage, and don't let them just build up and build up. There are little things that we can do to help, because we really, truly, we can do the best we can as educators, but a lot of times we don't know what our family traumas are. But we can notice those little things, and we can take those things into account, and we can build those students up for the amount of time that we have them. Because a lot of times we spend more time with these students than anybody else in the world. I spend at home, they're usually sleeping, right? So, I mean, we are the lucky ones. We are one of the biggest impacts that these students are going to have. And understanding and valuing those families as their first teachers and as their first and most primary source of knowledge, love, and trauma, right? So being able to take those things into account and kind of act accordingly. I feel a little bit like we're catalysts as educators. And we're the catalysts for that love, that caring, that compassion, that routine, that schedule. we are the catalyst saying what you do at home is so valuable that we would love for you to share with us. And we're also the catalysts that say sometimes not everything's perfect, but you're just the way you're supposed to be. And I think that if we can share more of that in the world, that we'll be more successful as human beings. So I give that word of advice to our teachers that are coming in, that it'd be really nice if they spent the first weeks just kind of orientating themselves to their students, their lives, their communities, their lands, learning customs, but also allowing themselves to recognize those traumas and recognizing that they may look different than in other places. But understanding those traumas is going to help us all to be able to address them and work through them collectively, because it's going to take us all.
Mm.
Sheesh.
Sheesh.